Hello Divi Nation and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 25 hidden Divi features to help you boost your productivity. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. Right now, I'm going to start off with the first feature, which is the search. Now, right now I've loaded this layout, but it doesn't really matter which layout you load because all these features can be used with any designed layout. So right now, this layout that I have is from our pre-made layouts. So all I'm going to do here is to come over here to new module, and over here on the search, you can see that we have the ability to start typing the type of module that we need. So let's say I need a text module. So as soon as I start typing, you can see here it appears. So that's the first feature. Now, this search does not only apply to modules. If you come over here, let's say to my section settings, and you want to look for something specific like padding, you can always start typing, and you can see here these are our options for padding. The next feature I need to discuss with you is a feature where we could add the gradient above our image. So let's take a look at that. So I'm just going to go over here to my section settings, click on background. So I'm going to come over here to the second tab, and over here we can see that we have this option here to place the gradient above the image or not. So if I say no, you can see here that the gradient is gone. But if I need to place it above the image, all you have to do is to click this button here, and then that places the gradient above the image. Okay, so the next feature is the feature where we can alternate our gradients. So to access the feature, all you have to do is to put your mouse over this area here, and this little button here, if you click it, it alternates it. So if I click it once, you can see now my gradient is over here to the right. So that's one quick feature that you can actually use. Let's move on to the fourth one. So my next feature I'm going to talk about is the keyboard shortcuts. Now this is something that you may not use all the time, but this can improve your speed as you're working on your website. Now, I went into detail in my last video where I made a list of 10 must-use keyboard shortcuts, but I won't go through all of them. I'll just show you how you can just use these keyboard shortcuts quickly in order for you to create even a faster workflow. So in my quick example here, I'm just going to copy and paste. So here right now, my mouse is over this button. I'm just going to hit Command C. If you're on a PC, it's Control C, and then you want to hit Control V or Command V if you're on a Mac. So you can see here, I've just done that copy and paste. And if I need to undo that, the command is Control or Command Z, like that. So now we've just gone back to that. So these are keyboard shortcuts that you can use to improve the workflow of your designs. The next feature I need to talk about is the wireframe view. Now the wireframe view is very important because it saves you time from going back to the backend builder. So let's see how we can access that. So to access the wireframe view, all you got to do is to click these little three buttons here on the bottom, and then you get this expand settings, and all you have to do is to click this button here like that, and that gives you the wireframe view. Now, as you can see, this view is similar to what you would get if you're using the backend builder. So this saves you time to save this page, going into the backend builder, making your adjustments, and then coming back to your design. So moving forward, this is a quick tip which you can use, and this literally replaces the backend builder. And to exit out of the wireframe view, all you have to do is to click this desktop icon, and this brings you back to your normal design. Okay, so let's move on to number 6. And number 6 is inline editing. So you know when you have this, let's say, module and you'd like to edit it. Normally we go into the module settings and then we make our changes in here, right? Now the quick tip here is you can actually edit all your text inline. So over here you can see as I press my mouse into this area here, I can actually continue typing like that. Okay, so that's how you can quickly go in and make adjustments using this inline editing. So the inline editing does not only work on the front end, you can also use the inline editing to rename all your modules and sections. So let's see how we can do that. So what I'm going to do is to enter into the wireframe mode by hitting Shift W as our shortcut. So I can actually come in here and start editing all my sections and renaming them if I wanted to. So here, let's say for example, I need to change the title here to, let's say, heading. I can just start typing like that, and that is how you can use the inline editing. And when you're done with that, our quick shortcut again is Shift W. Now let's move on to the next one, which is number 7, and this one is split testing. So this feature is actually amazing because you can actually do this in the front-end editor. So to do that, it's quite easy. You can just right click, and then you can see here you have your option to split test. So if I click split test, I can now set my goal. So let's say my button here is the goal. I select it, click OK. Okay, so what I need to do next is to go into my wireframe view, and I can make changes to my hero sections. Okay, so the next feature is customizing our builder settings. So to customize our builder settings, all we got to do is to make sure that your expand settings is clicked, and then you can come over here to your left, click these 3 little icons, and then here, this is where you can go through these settings and customize them according to how you want. So for example, here you can actually enable or disable your interface animations by just toggling on or off. Over here, you can also show disabled modules at 50%, but if you prefer not to have these disabled modules showing, you can actually disable them altogether just by doing that. Okay, next, you can actually group settings into closed toggles. So with this feature, I'll have to show you how this group settings closed toggles work. So right now it's set to on. I'm going to set it to off, and then I'm going to show you how that works. So let's say I go into let's say this module right here. I'm going to click on my settings. What you'll notice is everything here is opened. So when I click on design, for example, all these toggles are opened by default. Okay, so this is maybe a way that you may prefer working. So let me just show you what that looks like if it's set to on. So if I switch it back on and I go back over here to my module, click on design, you can see here they're all closed by default, and then for me to access them, I'll have to click on it, and then all my settings come up. So what you could also do here is to activate or deactivate your modes. So this is the grid mode, this is the click mode, and this is the hover mode. So if these are settings that you use all the time, I recommend that you make sure that they're on. And you can see here when I click on and off, they're actually being removed here from the bottom. But in my case, I normally use the click mode, so I'll just leave that there. Okay, so let's move on to number 9. Number 9, we are going to talk about the link, list, and a block quote design options for the text module. So let's go in and let me show you how that works. So in here, I'm just going to go into my module settings. So if I click on design and text, you notice that we have these different tabs here, and you can do quite a lot with these. So if you go, for example, on this link, you can actually choose the color that you would like, the type of font, and so on. So let's add a few things here into our text mode, and let me show you how that works. So let's say this needs to be a link. I'm just going to come over here and link it. But for now, I'm just going to add a blank link. Click OK. Now, if I come over here to design and then click on text, now with my link tab selected, I can actually come here, and you can see here the color now has changed. I can increase the size if I wanted to. So you can see here now this is specific to the link that I've just selected. So I can change here the font, so I can make it bold if I wanted to. I can even make it all caps. So these are all the settings that you can do within the text module. And then over here, if I have any unordered lists, I can actually come in here and make customizations to that specifically if I have them initially in the design. But with this, you have to remember to make all your settings here first. So let's say, for example, you want to create an ordered list. So you would create that here. Let's say like this, for example. Now for this to work, you add your ordered list like that. And then to customize it, this is where you come to your design tab, click on text, and then you can add, anything that you need over here. So you can see here as I'm increasing the text, it is increasing that because it's affecting the ordered list. I can actually change the orientation if I wanted to, like that. I can change the size, I can change the color, the drop shadows, and so on. Okay, let's move on to number 10, and number 10 is design options for all 6 header levels. So again, I'm going to come over here into my text module, and then I'm going to assign different headers to this so I can show you how that works. Right, so let's say this is heading 1. So what you need to do is to come over here and assign it to heading 1. And let's assign this to heading 2. So I'm going to highlight it, assign this to heading 2 like that. And let's just do one more, heading 3. So over here, we're going to highlight it and assign this to heading 3. Right, so these are all our headings. Now to make customizations to this, you can come over here to our design tab, click on the heading. Now I can come in here in this tab and make sure I customize this to whatever I want. So let's say I need to change the color of my heading, heading 1. I can always come here, change my color just like that. If I want to change my heading for heading 2, I can always come here to heading 2, choose my color just like that. I can also change the size if I wanted to. So you can see we have great flexibility when it comes to all header levels. Okay, let's move on to our next feature, which is number 11. And this feature is how to upload custom fonts with Divi modules. So what you need to do is to come over here to our text module, click on the gear icon for the settings, and then you can come over here to design, text, and then over here you can just click on any of the text fonts like that. So you can see here we have this button which says upload. So all you have to do is to click upload, and then this will take you to this module. So all you got to do here is to choose your files, or you can drag them over here. So what I'm going to do is to search for my fonts on my computer. Select that. Now my fonts are in my downloads folder, and they're in this folder called Bluefish. So all I have to do now is to click on the font that I need, like that, click open, and then I can upload my font. So now it's uploaded, and you can see here that's the font that's been added, and it also has applied the change here, and it's showing right here. Okay, let's move on to number 12, and number 12 is removing space below the image. So let me just show you quickly how that works. So I'm going to come over here and add my image module. I'm going to search for it. And then I'm going to come over here to upload, and I'm just going to upload a random image here. So I'm going to select this one here, click upload an image. So you can see here our image is showing, but we can actually come over here to our design, click on spacing, and you see this option here which says show space below the image. No, you can choose not to have that space by just saying no, and note what happens there when I do that. Okay, so this is one little feature that you can actually use to enhance your design. Okay, moving on to number 13. Our next example here is to add different units for different inputs. So what I mean by that is, let's say for example for our margin here, let's say we use 5%, but for the bottom we can use EMs. So if I say 2 EM, so you can see here that I'm actually using different inputs. So you can see now that I'm actually adding different units for different inputs. Okay, let's move on to number 14, and number 14 is all about the history states. Now to access your history states, you can come over here to the bottom, click on this. Now the history state is kind of like a time machine for your edits. So you can see here that in order, it has all my edits that I've done to this page. So over here you can see my latest one here was the edited image, and before that a few moments I added the image. So let's say I want to select this one right here. I can just select that, and now it's gone back to how it was when I hadn't added my image. So this could be a tool feature that you can actually use as you're designing to just roll back to whatever state that you need. And also the cool thing is you also have a timestamp, so you can roughly have an idea of when you've made those changes. So this could go back as maybe yesterday. So if that's the point you want to roll back to, you can always go back to that based on the timestamp. Okay, let's move on to number 15, and number 15 is the custom gutter width option. So to show you this, I'll have to illustrate what this means. So if I come over here to my row settings, click on design, and then I'm going to choose sizing. So this is where we can use the option of use gutter width. So right now it's set to 0. When it's set to 0, it means that the spacing between these two columns is actually 0, or there's no spacing between them. So if I move this to say for example 2, this gives us a 3% gap between our columns. And then if we move on to 3, this gives us a 5.5% gap between my columns. And then finally, if I go to 4, this gives us an 8% column margin between my columns. So this is how the gutter width works. Moving on, let's talk about right clicking. So if you didn't know, if you right click on any of the margins, sections and modules, you actually get extra options. So let's do that right now. So over here, I'm mousing over my rows. So if I right click, I have now options to either lock, copy, copy style, end split test, save to library, and so on. So let's say, for example, I need to lock this. I can just click on lock, and you can see now this now has a lock icon. So in order for me to enable my editing options, all I have to do is to right click and click unlock. Moving on to number 17, this is a disable top tier drop down menu link. So to do this, I would have to go into my theme options. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to exit the Visual Builder, click on save and exit. Okay, I'm going to come over here, click on dashboard, and then I'm going to come all the way down here to Divi and then click on theme options. So that option is right here on navigation. So if I come over here to general settings, I can actually enable or disable the top tier drop down menu links. So if I enable this, that means that my top tier drop down menu links are not clickable. Now let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead now and click on save changes. So I'm going to come over here and visit our website. So over here you can see that we have a drop down. In most cases when you click this, it actually takes you to the Our Team page. So now that I've disabled it, if I click on this, you can see it's not clickable, but my drop down menu is actually working. Okay, so moving on, our next feature is the alternate scroll to anchor method. Now to access this, we need to go back into the dashboard and go to our theme options. So the feature is right here on navigation, general settings, and over here you can actually enable and disable it. Now if you've ever tried to link directly to a CSS ID using an anchor link from an external page, you may have noticed that the final resetting location of the page isn't correct. Sometimes it's too low so that some of the content gets cut off at the top. Enabling the alternative scroll to anchor method corrects this problem. Not only does it put the user in the correct spot, the top of the page loads first before scrolling to the CSS ID. Okay, moving on. We are now at number 19, and number 19 is about hiding the logo on mobile. So let's see how we can do that. So what we need to do is to come over here to our theme customizer. So I'm going to select theme customizer, click on mobile styles, and then click on mobile menu. So what you can do here, as you can see in this demo, you can actually hide this logo, and every time someone visits your website from a mobile device, this logo will be disabled, and be sure to publish. Moving on at number 20, primary menu and secondary menu drop-down animation. So to access that, all you need to go is to come over here to header navigation, primary menu bar, and then over here you can see we have this drop-down menu animation. So our different examples here are expand, slide, flip, and so on. So if I come over here to expand, that becomes our drop-down animation. So you can see here that the animation is happening, and I can also change from expand to slide, and then you can see that it's now sliding. You can also do the same for the secondary menu. So I'm just going to go back, click on secondary menu, and we also have those options. So if you have a secondary menu here, you can actually use these animation options. Okay, next at 21, we are going to edit or disable the footer credits. So I'm going to go back over here and then come all the way down here to the footer, click on bottom bar. So just to show you what it looks like at the moment, you can see this is the credits. So you can actually disable the credits by just checking this box right here. So you can see here as I toggle it, it's actually disabling it and enabling it. Okay, let's move on to number 22, changing Divi's default color palette. So right now, I'm just going to exit out of this like that. I'm not going to make any changes to this. So I'm going to click on OK. Now, to change your colors, you need to come over here to Divi, And you can see here the first tab, which is general, is where we have our default color palette. So if you wanted to add your own color palette, all you got to do is to click on the color and then change it to whatever color it is, like that. Go on to the next color, click on it, make some changes to it. And in fact, to make things even easier, let's say you had the hexadecimal value, you can always come over here and paste it. And then once you're done adding your color palettes, all you have to do is to click on Save Changes. So as you're designing your website, it makes it easier for you to choose your colors as you design. Let's move on to number 23, the Divi page settings. So in order for us to get to that, I'm going to come over here to Visit Website. So we can go to our landing page. So what I'm going to do here is to first enable the Visual Builder, because this allows us to access our page settings. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to Expand Settings. Click on that. Now, to get our page settings, we need to click this gear icon. I'm going to click once on it. And now we can see we have our page settings. So any changes that I make here on this page will override my default theme settings. So let's say you want to change the background. You can always come here, change your background. You can also change your section background color. Over here on the design, here we have our color palette, so you can actually come here and change these colors for this page. So bear in mind that whatever changes you're going to make here only apply to this page. Now, even better, you can come over here to the Advanced tab and add specific CSS to this actual page. Okay, so moving on to number 24, choose what meta info to display on your blog posts. Okay, so what we need to do is to come over here to Divi, click on Theme Options, Layout. So these are the items that we can change. So right now we can see the author is enabled. And just to show you how this blog post shows, I'm going to come over here to a post which I have on my website. And you can see here the first entry here is the author, and that's Mac Admin. We also have the date, the category, and the comments. So this is what corresponds to what we have here: the author, the date, the categories, and the comments. So let's say you don't want the author to show on these articles. All you got to do is to click on this, and now that disables it. So be sure to click on Save Changes. And now if I come over here to my article and refresh the page, you can see now that the author has been disabled. So you can always come over here and disable whatever you don't need on your single articles. Okay, so you can also come over here to your general settings and also disable or enable these if you wanted to. Okay, so now we are on number 25. This is our final hidden Divi feature, and this is the code module. So let me show you how that works. So if I come over here, I can actually click this plus button to add our module, and then I can just search for code, and then I can select it. Now, the reason why the code module is important is because it allows us to add HTML to your page with no restrictions. The module also allows you to add HTML elements to pages without affecting other pages. The capabilities of the code module are endless, but here are some ways that you can use it. You can import external CSS files like animate.css to animate stuff on your page. You can integrate third-party plugins like Revolution Slider. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching and see you soon.